Hi, everyone. Dr. Adriana Popescu here with you today with Nicole Collins, my colleague that works with me here at Firebird Healing. And today we're going to be talking about your inner child and helping your inner child through the holidays. We thought this was a pretty timely topic, given that, we've just gone through here in America, at least, we've just gone through Thanksgiving, which for some is a wonderful time of year to come together with friends and family, and for others, more of a nightmarish, torturous experience. So wherever you fall on the scale, I think what we're going to offer you today is going to give you some insight and hopefully some useful tools for how you can get through what could be a stressful or challenging time. So Nicole, why don't we start with just talking with people about what is an inner child?
Hi, everybody. Nicole Collins here. What is your inner child? Inner child is this part of you that oftentimes we get disconnected from. That's a collection of memories and beliefs that we have about the world that we formed, in our younger years. And then along the way, as we've, endured difficulties or traumas or had a difficult childhood, we kind of disconnected from that part of ourself and hid, for me, I hid her away. Right. And I wasn't in touch with her anymore.
And what do you think causes people to disconnect in that way? Can you say more about that? Because, at Firebird, we specialize in working with trauma. And I think that often is a way in which the pain that our child experiences, that we experience perhaps as a child, becomes maybe something that's overwhelming or we can't deal with. And so we kind of repress it or push it away. But, say more about that.
Yeah, I mean, many of us grew up in, with traumatic homes, with adult, now we're adult children of alcoholics. So we grew up in homes with dysfunctionality, parents who were drinking or using, parents who went through divorce, and the divorce was really ugly. We were, sometimes some of us were put in the middle of a divorce. And that innocence, I think that many of us have, that we all have, and I think we can find it again, that innocence, we get disconnected from it because the pain takes over, right? And then we want to protect, so we harden instead of soften, right? And we stop letting people in, and we stop listening to the little person inside of us.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate with that, and when I talk about this in groups and stuff, I kind of make reference to it like, the concept from Conscious Recovery, which is a, book and modality we work with a lot at Avery Lane, the rehab center where we also work. And in Conscious Recovery, we talk about how you're born into this world as a whole and perfect being. Your spirit is like this bright, shiny, happy little being that you come into the world being, and you can see it, right? When you look at children, you look at babies and small children, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be like big T trauma, like abuse, neglect, those kinds of things. Just growing up and dealing with like the daily traumas, being teased or bullied at school, right? Or having to move around a lot, or losing a friend, or losing a pet, or whatever it is. Like all those experiences, children, unfortunately, they're not really taught how to deal with their emotions. Most kids aren't, and so they don't know what to do with it. And so so it's like the light, and then as you get also programmed, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about the domestication of the human. Like we start to learn beliefs, we start to be told this is how you're supposed to think, this is how you're supposed to act, this is how you're supposed to be in the world. And that's another way, I think, in which we cut off parts and pieces of our natural, joyful, exuberant self, right? Like I remember being told a lot, you're too much, right? So what does that do to a child when you're told you're too much? Then you start shutting down, you start like dimming your light, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
And
was a message I got all the time, right? Too much, too many emotions. I'm like, I don't even understand emotions. Like, what do you
right,
mean?
you're too sensitive, right?
Yeah.
That could be another one you hear a lot. And so then you start coming to believe there's something wrong with you. And this is where, core false beliefs take hold. And our inner children are holding on to so many things, they're holding on to unresolved traumas. They're holding on to these core false beliefs that something's wrong with them, that they're not enough, whatever it may be. And that starts to dim your light and causes you to disconnect from yourself, and TJ in conscious recovery refers to that as a spiritual disconnection, right? That you're disconnected from your true essence. So when I talk about the sun, like how, okay, the sun is always shining. It's always radiating its light. It's just, we don't always see it. Right now, it's a, cloudy day here in San Francisco. I can't see the sun, but I know it's there. At nighttime, our planet's facing the other direction away from the sun, but it's still there radiating. So what if like the radiance of our inner child is still in there, but maybe clouds and dark stuff has kind of gotten in the way and disconnected us from that light?
I love that. I've never even thought of it that way. That's absolutely beautiful. It's always there, right? Yes.
Yeah. It seems to hit home with a lot of clients when I frame it that way. So what we want to look at is, what happens during the holidays. So, we kind of framed it as what is your inner child and what might they be holding on to. I see a lot of inner children that are stuck in the pain and the trauma and have lost the disconnection to the joy and the happiness. So what happens during the holidays, especially when people get together with family, when memories of past holidays maybe start coming to light? What happens?
What does happen? People go into complete shutdown mode. A lot of us had, you know, we bring all of these generations together for these holidays. And for so many people, there's this intergenerational trauma that's never been healed. And then we put all these people in the same room and we're like, be happy, celebrate, figure
Right.
it out. It's like, what? And we're just kids running around, and I loved the holidays as a kid, absolutely loved them. And some way along the line, I lost that light and I lost that connection to that inner child because I felt the need to grow up too quickly or to, we're told, grow up, act your age. Well, what does that mean? Like, why can't I be connected to this innocence and this inner child? So we get into the holidays, we have all of these people around us, and it can be extremely stressful time, right? There's like perfectionism that comes up for, we watch our parents want to have the perfect meal. And, my mom, bless her soul, she has to set the table a week before anybody comes over, right? Because it causes so much stress and anxiety and overwhelm for her to make sure that everything is seen like it's put together, right? And we're taken away from what are we actually there for?
Right.
What are we celebrating, right? Can we be present with each other and have these beautiful experiences and enjoy this time? Can we be present? I think that's the thing that a lot of us lose.
Well, right, because there's such a societal expectation. It's so hyped up, the holidays, and then you've got Christmas and then all the gifts you have to get for people. And it's like the insanity and the Black Friday sales and just like all of the insanity where it's turned into this kind of commercialized money-making experience. And everyone wants, kids these days want the latest iPhone and the $500 sneakers. And it's just like, yeah, we've gone so far away from what I think original intention was with the holidays, which was to celebrate, if there's a religious tradition, obviously all of that stuff, but like to celebrate being together. But when you have all these expectations and on top of it, I think what happens when you put all those people together in the room, all the old stuff comes up. Like I have distinct memories of going back home for the holidays and feeling like a kid again, feeling like a 5-year-old, feeling like an obnoxious teenager. And then that would create friction. Then we'd have that same argument again. Me and my mom would have the same argument we would have, when I was young, would resurface. And I think if you then throw drugs and alcohol in the mix, or alcohol at the very least, right? Like it's a recipe for catastrophe potentially.
Yes, there's so much drinking around the holidays. I mean, it's just like explosion, party after party after party. You know, friends are having parties and then our work is having a party. And then we like get to Christmas. And by the time we're there, it's like we're toasted,
Mhm.
right? Like
Literally.
can't handle any more party, can't drink anymore.
Right. And what happens is, when what we know from treating drug and alcohol addiction is when you start altering your consciousness with substances, right? That trauma capsule where where your inner child locked away all that pain, all that unresolved trauma, a lot of times the substances unlock that. And then there's this explosion or meltdown. And a lot of people really come out of these experiences depressed
Mhm.
and feeling maybe worse than when they went into the holidays with all that pressure and expectation, and then it doesn't turn out the way they thought it should, like the Hallmark Christmas special. um you know and I think that's really painful for folks,
Yeah,
and then they
really.
look to themselves and think, what did I do? Most of us tend to like blame ourselves. What did I do wrong? I didn't make this perfect. I should have been happier. I shouldn't have drank so much, whatever it is. And people are left feeling like crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's another piece I want to talk about before we get to the tips that you've come up with, which is the loneliness and depression and even suicidality that happens around the holidays when people actually don't feel connected, don't feel like they have friends or family to be with. Can you
Yeah.
say a little bit about that?
It just shows the importance of community. We need connection. And I don't know why, and maybe you can speak to this, Adriana, the holidays have a different energy to them. They have a different weight. And maybe it is that expectation of perfection, of joy. And so if we feel like we can't meet these expectations and we're isolated and lonely and we have nowhere to go, what are we supposed to do? My family's very, very small. Me, my mom, my sister, essentially, right? And if one of us is gone, we can feel very lonely,
Yeah.
right? And so what do we
Yeah.
do if we don't have family? How do we nurture ourselves? How do we nurture that inner child and care for them?
Well, and I think a lot of it is in your point of view. I mean, certainly the things you're going to be talking about are helpful, but I think fundamentally it starts with what's your perspective you're taking, right? So at this point, I am an orphan. Both my parents, I was an only child. Both my parents have passed. I don't have any kind of family that I'm connected with anymore. I have
Right.
friends I consider family, and I'm often invited to things, but I just don't particularly care for the holidays. That's the other thing, is the expectation is you're supposed to make are you excited about the holidays? No. There was holiday Christmas on yesterday at the chiropractor's office. I'm like, do we have to listen to this shit? Like, you know, what if it's okay to not actually care about the holidays or not make them such a big deal? So for
Yeah.
me, what I appreciate is it's actually a time of solitude that I enjoy. I can be in my pajamas all day. I can watch whatever I want on TV. I can eat whatever I want. I don't like turkey and all that stuff. I can eat what I want to eat. And I don't feel lonely because the loneliness comes from a judgment. It's saying that like being alone is wrong and bad, and that I should be with people. And if I choose to take the point of view that of like, actually, I enjoy the time alone. I'm around people all day long. I actually enjoy my solitude and time away from people. It rejuvenates me and restores me. And I'm with, as you who made an appearance earlier, my lovely little kitty Wookie, and I can be with friends and loved ones if I want to, but I also can choose to be alone and not have a problem with it, because my point of view is like, there's nothing wrong with this.
Right. Yeah. You've done your own work to discover like, I don't need to have shame for not liking the holidays. I don't need to shame myself or, have a judgment of self. So much of this is, judgment of self from this world expectations of the holidays are supposed to be this time where we do this, that, and the other. Who says that you can't recreate and do whatever it is that you actually want to do? That's why I think it's so important to connect to that inner child and ask them, what do you want to do?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
do you want? I thought this morning, I said, oh, I'm going to wear my holiday earrings, and I talked to her and she was like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'm going to be there this year. I was like, okay, all right. Cool. We don't need to do that.
So let's move into this part. You came up with some tips for us to nurture and care for our inner child in what can be a difficult time of year. So what have you got for us?
Yeah. So it's, plan anti-holiday activities is the first one that I thought of. If you don't want to be doing holiday stuff, plan anti-holiday. Is there a holiday you do like? Do you like Halloween? Do you want to do that instead all over again? Right? Or do you want to sit and watch, okay, horror movies. I mean, I love horror movies. Do you want to sit and watch horror movies again and, hang out with your dogs or cats or whatever? So do anti-holiday stuff, ask yourself a series of questions, right? What did my inner child love about the holidays? Right? What do you wish would have been a part of your holiday? Do you have the ability to make that happen now? Can you create that reality for yourself now? And then ask yourself what your least favorite parts were of the holidays. Did you even enjoy them? As a kid, do you want to enjoy them now? Right? So what can you do and how can you help yourself and your inner child, feel safe and prevent those least favorite parts, right? And then
I have something to add there actually on that one. That's really helpful. One of the tips I often have given my clients, and I actually have done this myself, is to remember what kinds of activities in general you might have enjoyed as a child. Yeah. And take a trip to the toy store or to the toy department of, I don't know, whatever, Target or something, or the craft store, like the hobby store. And either just play looking around and get into that energy of oh yeah, I remember we used to do these needlepoint things, cross stitch things, or I remember one year I bought myself a light bright because I was I used to love the light bright. And I, as an adult, bought myself a light bright and was playing with it. And now we have these adult coloring books and things, right? So, or maybe even getting some bubble bath and playing in the bathtub. What was fun for you as a kid? And what if you went to the toy store and actually bought yourself, your inner child, a toy to play with?
Absolutely. I love that. I grew up doing sports constantly. I was a competitive swimmer at a very young age. We also played water polo. So we didn't really have crafts and things like that. So in sobriety, realizing I want to reconnect with this inner child, I built a dollhouse. It's taken me over a year, but I built a dollhouse from scratch. It's actually a goth dollhouse. It's completely black with a moss roof. And everything is spooky inside and it's great. And that's me, oh, this is so much fun. Look at these little lights and do all these things, Yeah, that's a great one. I love that one. Ask your inner child, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
It'll be fun for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And really connect in a great way, and then some of us have really difficult families. And so how can we practice, coping? Is it shorter visits? Is it virtual visits? Are we just going to, I'm not feeling well, a virtual visit, and then check in and do maybe some of those fun crafts or take that bubble bath or hang out with your cat, practicing really solid boundaries, and reaching out for social support from other people.
So I want to flesh that out a little bit too, because again, I think that's such sound and wise suggestions. I think definitely limiting your time, being aware, knowing yourself, how much time can you really spend with family before it starts getting under your skin and you start the old friction starts coming up. I mean, for a lot of people, it's very short. It could be 2 hours. It could be 2 days. So really consider also buffering if it's a travel kind of trip, or even actually not a travel trip, even if it's something local. Buffer the time before and after, right? Do something and schedule it. Do something nurturing, fun, or just grounding for yourself before you even embark on the experience. And that might mean meditation. That might mean going for a walk in nature. It might mean getting a good workout in. It might be doing some breathing or tapping, some of the grounding skills that we teach folks to prepare yourself to even go into this experience. And then on the tail end, have some support, maybe even an exit plan, maybe if that there's a tendency for things to get messy at your family events, maybe you come in two separate cars, you and whoever you're going to come with, or right. Or you have some sort of exit plan to get out early if you need to, and have support available. Like maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your sponsor if you're somebody in recovery, that like you could call or text and say, okay, this is getting really intense, or I've just come out of this and it's really intense, can you talk? Or again, doing one of those practices that helps you release whatever stress may have come up or gotten activated during the experience of being around family or these kinds of stressful parties and whatnot, So I think doing self-care practices before and after, and planning it that way is also super helpful.
Yeah. And knowing that we don't owe anybody anything. We don't owe our family extended periods of time if it's something that we feel like we can't give. We really, it's so important that we honor ourselves and check in. Yeah. And like you're saying, be realistic. Do I need to be with my family for 6 hours?
Yeah.
Christmas.
Right. I mean, what if it's quality versus quantity? Like I'd rather have like a shorter visit that's actually really enjoyable than a protracted, effortful, doesn't feel like fun anymore visit that, leaves people feeling bad at the end. Was that worth it for all the extra hours and days? I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
So what else do you have?
That was it. Those were my my questions to ask ourselves, and then, how we can create a visit or socialize with family that, we're protecting ourselves and checking in with ourselves.
Great. So let's put those in the comment section when for this live. And what else do you think people would be helpful for them to know? Like what comes up for me when I ask that question is like, don't make yourself wrong. Like I really just I know we've said it, but like really look at the ways in which you're judging yourself and the pressure, the expectations you're putting on yourself during this time of year, all the perfectionism, or we should be feeling happy, even though maybe we're not genuinely feeling happy. Like what if we could like really focus on not making ourselves wrong, or not making everyone else wrong? If you have like those annoying family members, like what about having some compassion? They are who they are. They're probably not going to change. You wanting them to change is probably not going to work. You can't get someone else to change. What would it be like if we had more compassion and allowance for ourselves and the people around us?
Yeah, I love that. And more generosity in interpretation and how we interpret, certain situations, right? Like you're saying, like we can view a family member as wrong and maybe we're just not understanding them correctly. Can we give them a generous, explanation for what maybe they meant to say, right? Do we have to take it? Do we have to take it all so seriously sometimes?
Yeah,
right?
that's the big
And do we
one.
have to take ourselves so seriously sometimes? I think it's an AA. It's like a 12-step thing. Rule 62, never take yourself too seriously.
Yeah. And I think that goes a long way. And when we're doing this kind of self-care, like when you're caring for your inner child, and it can be hard at first. I do want to say to people,
Yes,
it was super weird for me. I had a woman years ago when I was first introduced to the topic, say, imagine your inner child is with you and you're giving her a hug. I was like, I'm not giving her a hug. What are you talking about? Like, it was such a weird concept to me at the time. And it really took a long time for me to cultivate a relationship with my inner child, or inner children, really. You could have, obviously, you can have an inner teenager, an inner child, various inner children of different ages. I mean, we have all different parts to us. It took a long time for me to cultivate like healthy relationships. So know that this is a process. This isn't something that just happens overnight. A lot of the clients we work with, we have been doing this type of work. But for somebody who's new to this concept, like, don't make yourself wrong for thinking this is like kind of weird or strange. It takes a while to even become aware of these parts of yourself. And then it can take time to develop relationships with them. And sometimes your inner child is pissed at you, like, especially with, I think, addiction and stuff. Like, you shut me away in a closet somewhere and like didn't let me see the light of day for years. Like, I'm pissed at you. Like, you might need to actually do some work around clearing the relationship with your inner child.
right. It's like any connection or new friendship or new relationship that we have. It takes time. I also thought it was really, I'm going to say this. I thought it was stupid. I was like, what the hell is a freaking inner child? And that, like, is so like immature. I don't know. I had so many judgments and preconceived notions and contempt prior to investigation. And I went to this thing, and there was this meditation about connecting with your inner child. I was like, whatever. And I did it, and I'm like sobbing, and I'm like, oh my God, she's in there. Like I had no idea, right, that I had
Yeah.
like lost touch with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had all of these judgments. So yeah, it takes time. Like relationships take time to build and grow and develop and understand. And so yeah, as you're saying, like be patient. And all we need sometimes is just like a little bit of willingness and like, is this possible? Could this maybe be in there?
Yeah, a willingness to be open to a different possibility, because for most of us, what we've been doing isn't working too well. Our brilliant strategies may not be so brilliant anymore. So what if you could open up to something different? So Nicole, you're going to be actually leading people in a longer workshop, a 6-week workshop that's actually going to take a deeper dive into this topic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about it. I wish I had my thingy. I had it somewhere. It's just like a way. So it's like education, and then that starting to connect with that inner child, reevaluating our family history, the family narrative that was kind of told to us a lot of times. Can we recreate that narrative? Can we give new explanations for the things that happened to us? And then hopefully having, a more in-depth relationship with this inner child, which we can then, use as a source of strength and inner knowing and inner power. And I'm really, really excited about it. It just came to me so quick. I was like, oh, here's what we're going to do each week. And so that just like felt so perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about the conversations that are going to be created from the topics.
I think it's a great topic as well, because you do often need guidance in this process. Like where do you even start? How do you do this? How do you repair a damaged relationship with your inner child? How do you even connect with them? And you've come up with some really practical, experiential things that people are going to get, exercises and tools that people are going to get. And so we'll put a link in the comments section too, for where people can find out more about this workshop. It's going to be starting, I believe, the first week of January, right?
Yes, it is. It's a Wednesday. We'll be starting Wednesday, the 4th?
Wednesday, whatever it is. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Yes, it's right after the holidays. It's like, let's get into it. Yep, the 4th. Okay.
Wednesday the 4th. Yes. Thank you. So yeah. And so what are some of the benefits that you see coming out, the potential benefits of doing this inner child work, or taking this workshop with you, or what can we offer folks as far as what are the benefits of doing this work? Because it's not always easy work. We have to put that out there. Like painful stuff might come up, tears may come, right? So what's the value of doing this, do you think?
I think tears will definitely come, but I love crying. I always say I'm crying's number one biggest fan. It can be a lot of catharsis in it. But I think having a relationship with your inner child is a way to create joy, to have some real meaning, understanding, getting in touch with that innocence again is so beautiful. And it can be a really humbling experience. And a lot of times it's a way for us to not take ourselves so seriously, right? And to listen to this inner child. And for a lot of ways it's nurturing, right? But then it's also, which part of me is on stage right now when I'm having a really strong negative reaction, right? When I feel hyped up, when I'm in some sort of nervous system freak out, what's happening, right? So it's getting in touch with that inner child to say like, oh, she's scared, right? She's hurt, right? And she wants to lash out in anger, right? So it's also having the understanding in that way. So there's so many benefits.
I would agree for sure. When we're getting emotionally reactive, it's almost always a regression. We're regressing back to that wounded inner child that's stuck in their trauma and doesn't know how to deal with the situation. Like when I do couples work, I've actually asked people in the middle of a fight, how old are you being right now? Right? It's never the age they are in their adult selves. It's always something younger. So the gift in this is that it can help you reduce emotional reactivity, improve your relationships with people, so you're not reenacting those dysfunctional dynamics. that
Yes.
you unconsciously might be repeating from your family and early life experiences. It gives your inner child the chance to heal from all of that and allows you to have more joy, like you said, and happiness and exuberance in life and more fun. Like,
Yeah.
again,
Oh,
most of
yes.
us adults take life too seriously. What would it be like to have more play and fun in whatever it is you're doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it validates that inner child's experience too. Often we don't want to validate, or it wasn't that bad, or, those things didn't happen. It
Yeah.
can be a really validating experience
It,
too.
it definitely improves self-esteem. I would say that is a huge benefit of doing this work, is that, self-esteem improves, self-awareness improves. It just opens up a whole new doorway of possibilities. So if this work speaks to you, if our conversation we've had here today perks something in you, you'll have that intuitive sense. Definitely consider joining us, joining Nicole for this workshop. I think it's going to be really amazing. And it's 6 weeks. And if you can't be on live for each one, because we know we're all busy, we will have recordings, and you will have lifetime access to those recordings. Or actually, depending on where we set it up, you might have to download them to your own device to have lifelong access. I forget about the back end things, but regardless, you will have access to the recordings should you not be able to be on there live. But I really think this is going to be an incredibly transformative workshop for those who are pulled to participate. So thank you for your time today, Nicole. This has been a great conversation. I love what we're creating here with Firebird. And yeah, there's definitely some excitement about the workshop. Oh, you're getting some positive feedback here. I think somebody is typing in that I'm really excited about the workshop. The timing is good, and I look forward to working with Nicole again. She's a well-rounded therapist. Yes, she is.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think right now we're putting a number limit on the class. I mean, we'll see, how we really want to try to include as many people as possible, but if it gets to be like ginormous, then we'll look at that.
I mean, we can say what else is possible, we can ask for that, but I don't, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think in my experience, the sort of the magic of the universe is such that the right people who need to be there in the right numbers will show up, and that's exactly how it needs to be. So I kind of trust the process.
Some of it will be split off in groups, and anyways, you guys will all see. If you want to know more, sign up, come with me, and we'll find out together.
There you go. And we're trying to keep it also very reasonably priced. I think a 6-week workshop for $99 is an incredible deal. So hopefully, we wanted to make it priced in a way that it could be accessible for all kinds of folks, especially after the holidays, when you've spent your whole, paycheck or bank account on these required gifts you need to buy for everyone. So I hope you guys can join us. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Nicole. We're happy to answer any questions you have. You can also put your questions in the comments box, we'll read them in the future as well if you're watching this video later. Thanks for tuning in today. Thank you, Nicole, and we'll see you next time.
See y'all. Bye.